The ancient history that World War II has become, in fact, impacts us every day.
Just another World War II story filled with thrills, spills, and action and adventure. That would have been very easy for me.
Veterans had to leave theaters during D-Day, with counselors stationed in lobbies nationwide waiting to help them. An amputee war veteran played himself losing his limbs in the most brutal combat scene ever filmed. These are 20 shocking facts about Saving Private Ryan you never knew. These behind-the-scenes revelations will forever change how you watch Spielberg's masterpiece. 1. The Veterans Exodus. The Department of Veterans Affairs received unprecedented calls during Saving Private Ryan's opening weekend. Theaters across America reported veterans fleeing during the D-Day sequence, some collapsing in lobbies, others found sobbing in bathrooms. The VA emergency response was extraordinary. Counselors stationed at major theaters, a dedicated PTSD hotline, and warnings posted at box offices in California. A World War II veteran had a heart attack during Omaha Beach, surviving but suing the theater for not warning him. Paramount added disclaimers, but the damage was done. Over 2,000 documented PTSD incidents occurred in the first month. One veteran told counselors, "I was back there. I could smell it." 2. 25 minutes of hell. The D-Day sequence consumed $12 million, one-third of the film's entire budget, for just 25 minutes of screen time. Spielberg shot for 4 weeks using 40 barrels of fake blood daily. The production employed 900 extras, mostly Irish Army reserves, firing 30,000 rounds of blank ammunition. Special effects rigged 2,000 squibs, and explosions cameras were destroyed by debris and blood. The scene required so many amputees playing wounded soldiers that they flew in volunteers from across Europe. Every frame was designed to recreate the chaos veterans described. The sequence became the most expensive battle scene per minute ever filmed at that time. 3. The Amputee Warriors. Real amputees, many of them veterans, played soldiers losing limbs on Omaha Beach. No CGI was used for the dismemberment scenes. The production recruited from veterans' hospitals and amputee support groups. One double amputee, a Gulf War veteran, played a soldier whose legs are blown off. He later said filming helped process his own trauma. Makeup artists attached prosthetic gore to actual stumps, creating disturbingly realistic wounds. Several amputee actors were former military who lost limbs in combat. They coached other actors on how bodies react to traumatic amputation. Spielberg paid them triple standard rates and covered all medical supervision. 4. Boot Camp Hell. Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore, Edward Burns, and the entire squad, except Matt Damon, endured 10 days of boot camp under Captain Dale Dye. They slept in freezing tents, ate military rations, and were forbidden to break character. Dye, a Vietnam veteran, made them hate each other through exhaustion and competition. They learned weapons handling, tactics, and military culture. When they finally met Damon, who'd been exempted to preserve the resentment, the animosity was real. Giovanni Ribisi admitted, wanting to punch Damon during their first scene together. The authentic military bearing you see came from genuine military training that left actors vomiting from exhaustion. 5. Hanks' secret research Tom Hanks prepared by accessing classified D-Day footage the public has never seen. Stored in military archives, Veterans Affairs arranged private screenings of uncensored combat photography showing actual deaths. Hanks spent weeks in VA hospitals interviewing veterans who'd never spoken publicly. One veteran gave Hanks his actual D-Day compass, which Hanks carried during filming. He learned that officers developed hand tremors from constant adrenaline. Incorporating this into Captain Miller's shaking hands, Hanks underwent therapy after filming to process what he'd seen. He later funded a veterans' mental health program, saying the research showed him the war that never ended. 6. The Damon Isolation Experiment. Spielberg deliberately isolated Matt Damon from the cast to create genuine resentment. While others suffered through boot camp, Damon relaxed in a hotel. He wasn't allowed to socialize with the squad during filming. The cast ate together. Damon ate alone. They shared war stories. Damon was excluded. This psychological manipulation created the exact dynamic Spielberg wanted. Soldiers who'd bonded through trauma resenting the outsider they're dying to save. The animosity was so effective that Tom Sizemore genuinely shoved Damon during an argument scene. Not scripted, but kept in the film. Cast members didn't become friendly with Damon until the rap party. 7. Diesel's unexpected moment. Vin Diesel's emotional story about buying his girlfriend roses wasn't in the script. Spielberg simply told him to say something interesting and kept cameras rolling. Diesel improvised the entire monologue about pretending to sleep in the barn, making it up as he went. The other actors' reactions were genuine. They didn't know what he would say. Tom Hanks's gentle response was also improvised. The scene became so powerful that test audiences consistently cited it as their favorite character moment. Diesel was originally hired for just 1 day, but Spielberg expanded his role after seeing this improvisation. The scene launched Diesel's career. 8. The Real Band of Brothers. The Nealand family of Tonawanda, New York, inspired Private Ryan's story. Though reality differed from fiction, 4 brothers served. 2 died on D-Day. 1 was missing in Burma, presumed dead. Frederick Nyland was extracted from Normandy, believing he was the sole survivor. Months later, they discovered the brother in Burma had survived as a POW. The emotional complexity of Frederick living with survivor's guilt while his brother was actually alive fascinated Spielberg. He met with Frederick's family, who shared letters between the brothers. The real Mrs. Nyland never received 3 telegrams on 1 day. Deaths were spread over months, making the agony prolonged rather than instant 9. Combat veterans behind cameras. Spielberg hired actual combat veterans to operate handheld cameras during battle scenes. These weren't film professionals, but former soldiers who knew how bodies move under fire. They instinctively ducked at explosions, flinched at gunfire, and sought cover, creating the documentary feel. One camera operator, a Vietnam veteran, had a PTSD episode during filming and dropped his camera, running from set. The footage of the camera falling and spinning was used in the film. Another operator, a Falklands War veteran, unconsciously filmed while taking actual tactical cover positions. Their military instincts created shots no Hollywood cinematographer would have conceived. 10. Destroying the lens protection. Janusz Kaminski stripped the protective coatings from camera lenses, exposing the raw glass to elements. This caused light to fracture unpredictably, creating the vintage newsreel look. Saltwater, stage blood, and dirt permanently damaged expensive lenses. Several $50,000 lenses were destroyed. The technique also made focusing nearly impossible. Operators worked partially blind. When blood splattered on lenses, they kept rolling rather than cutting to clean. One lens cracked during an explosion but continued filming. The fractured image appears in the final cut. Panavision initially refused to rent unprotected lenses until Spielberg personally guaranteed replacement costs. 11. The 60% solution. The film's desaturated color came from removing 60% of color in post-production, a process called ENR that hadn't been used since the 1960s. Spielberg wanted the look of combat photography from D-Day, which was mostly black and white with occasional washed-out color. The process was so extreme that Technicolor warned it might damage the negative. Every frame was individually adjusted, taking 6 months. Flesh tones were preserved while backgrounds were drained. The technique influenced every war film afterward. Directors still request the Ryan look. The process was so expensive it added $2 million to the budget, but Spielberg considered it essential for authenticity. 12. Recording real bullets. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom recorded actual bullets passing microphones at various distances to capture authentic supersonic cracks. Military ranges fired live ammunition past recording equipment, sometimes destroying microphones. Different calibers were recorded: M1 Garands, German Mausers, MG 42 machine guns. Bullets passing through water, sand, and meat were recorded for impact sounds. The famous zipping sound of near misses came from bullets passing within inches of microphones. Several recording sessions were canceled when bullets destroyed equipment. The final audio library contained 8,000 different bullet sounds. No war film had previously recorded live ammunition for sound effects. 13. Spielberg's father's ghost. Steven Spielberg's father, Arnold, served as a radio operator in Burma but never discussed his experiences. Making the film was Spielberg's attempt to understand his father's silence. He showed Arnold early footage. His father broke down crying. The first time Steven had seen him cry, Arnold began sharing war stories, describing friends who died, the fear he'd hidden for 50 years. This reconciliation changed their relationship. Arnold visited the set, advising on radio equipment details. The film's dedication includes "Our Fathers," referring to both the greatest generation and specifically Arnold Spielberg. Later said the film was really about trying to understand why Dad came home different. 14. Mellish's Star of David. The scene where Mellish is slowly stabbed while showing his Star of David was Spielberg confronting his own relationship with the Holocaust. The German soldiers whispered "shush" as he kills the Jewish soldier was Spielberg's nightmare visualization of genocide's intimate brutality. Adam Goldberg, also Jewish, couldn't film more than 2 takes without breaking down. Spielberg cried behind the camera. The scene wasn't in the original script. Spielberg added it after visiting concentration camps during Schindler's List. He wanted to show how personal hatred manifested in combat. The moment when Upham fails to intervene represents, Spielberg said, the world watching Jews die and doing nothing. 15. No storyboards, no safety. For the first time in his career, Spielberg shot without storyboards, wanting authentic chaos instead of choreographed action. He gave general directions but let scenes evolve naturally. Actors didn't know when explosions would occur. This created genuine fear and confusion. Tom Hanks actually got lost during Omaha Beach, his disorientation real. Several actors were injured by unexpected debris. The insurance company threatened to shut down production. Spielberg responded by wearing a helmet and flak jacket while directing. The spontaneous approach created unrepeatable moments when a controlled explosion went off early, nearly hitting actors. Their terrified reactions were kept in the film. 16. The Last Witness. Spielberg tracked down David Douglas Duncan, the last living combat photographer from D-Day, then 82 years old. Duncan spent 3 days on set, describing how bodies moved when hit, how blood pooled in sand, the smell of cordite and death. He corrected details, how men held wounds, the color of burning flesh, the way dead eyes stayed open. Duncan hadn't spoken about D-Day in decades, but felt obligated to ensure accuracy. He told Spielberg, "If you're going to show it true." Duncan's photographs from D-Day were studied by every department. He died 2 months after the film's release, calling it the truth we couldn't show in 1944. 17. Ireland's Secret Army. The Irish Army provided 1,500 soldiers as extras, the largest military cooperation in Irish history. These active duty troops were trained in World War II tactics for 3 weeks. They lived in character as American soldiers, using 1940s slang, writing letters home as GIs. The Irish government requested their faces be obscured to maintain military neutrality. Many soldiers were descendants of Irish Americans who fought in World War II. They brought unexpected authenticity, suggesting tactical improvements based on military training. Several Irish soldiers' grandfathers had actually fought at D-Day with the British Army. The cooperation was kept secret until after release to avoid political complications. 18. The director's blindness. Spielberg banned himself from watching dailies during production, a first in his career. He wanted to maintain the emotional rawness without second guessing. Footage was processed and stored unseen. Only the camera operators knew what was captured. This created anxiety for the studio, who couldn't monitor their $40 million investment. Spielberg first saw the D-Day sequence in rough cut, months after filming. He was so disturbed he considered cutting it down, but test audiences convinced him to keep every frame. The self-imposed blindness forced him to trust instinct over technique, creating his most visceral filmmaking 20 minutes of music. John Williams composed only 20 minutes of original music for the 169-minute film, the least he'd ever written for Spielberg. Most of the film plays without score, using only environmental sound. Williams felt music would dishonor the reality, saying, "Silence is more respectful than symphonies." The hymn played during cemetery scenes was found in a World War II chaplain's handbook, The minimal score was revolutionary for a war epic. Studios typically demanded constant music. Williams's restraint influenced how war films use music. He won the Oscar for those 20 minutes, the shortest score to ever win. Spielberg later said silence was the film's most powerful sound. 20. The Pentagon's unprecedented support. The Department of Defense provided unprecedented support after reading the script, calling it the most accurate depiction of combat ever attempted. They supplied authentic World War II equipment from storage, including working Sherman tanks. Military historians were assigned as full-time consultants. The Pentagon opened classified archives, sharing after-action reports from D-Day. Active duty soldiers trained actors in period tactics. The military's only requirement? Show the Rangers' professionalism accurately. They even provided authentic World War II-era ammunition for sound recording. This cooperation was extraordinary considering the film's brutal honesty about combat. The Pentagon's official statement called it necessary truth for understanding sacrifice. Which behind-the-scenes revelation about Saving Private Ryan affected you most? Was it the real amputees on Omaha Beach or Spielberg's emotional reconciliation with his father? Share your thoughts and your own family's World War II stories in the comments below. If you want more incredible facts about films that changed cinema forever, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Until next time, remember Captain Miller's words, earn this. Thanks for watching.